our elders for permission to speak. Are there any elders?
I'm sure there are.
You have to unmute, elders. I am requesting permission to speak.
Mr. Bayard? Bayard?
Permission granted.
Thank you. And we will now start the ceremony.
So we will now move over to libations. Pouring of our libations this evening, Brother Crawford is going to lead us in that effort.
All righty, we're here with the Crawford family. These are my two sons, Kyrie Crawford and Khalil Crawford. Khalil is here from Seattle, Washington, visiting for a couple weeks. He works out at Amazon, and my other straight A student, son, Kyrie Crawford. So here, he's gonna hold the phone and I'm gonna get started. All right. So me and Janelle was talking about this a little earlier. Yeah, we pour libations. I can, you can. So for those that may not know, we pour libation to give honor to our ancestors and also to send them positive energy in the afterlife. You can either use a plant or sometimes I use, I bought these, I just got them from the dollar store, but have been looking for some for quite a while so I can pour them into them like that. So anyways, yeah, this is a tradition that goes back a long time. Sometimes, in our modern day, they kind of scare us away from our own tradition, making us feel like we're doing something evil. We knew that there was life after death because we were able to communicate with our ancestors through dreams or in other ways. That grandmother tell you, go back and look at the Bible I left $50 in there, and you go back and do that. You talk to somebody that was real. So anyways, we start out, we're gonna pour our libations to the ancestors I called, and then they're gonna give me the names and we'll pour libations to those. And so here, I'll let you start out with that one. So first libation is to my son that has passed away, Barry Crawford Jr. Ashe.
Ashe.
I'd like to pour this libation to my mother, Gwen Crawford. Ashe. And her good friend, who's also this plant I got it from, which was Mrs. Elamine.
Ashe.
Ashe.
To my sister and my brother who have died within the last 12 months, Robert Barry Crawford Jr., we know him as Binky, and my sister Terry Lynn Crawford. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. To a brother that's been a real positive spiritual teacher for us, who passed away also within the last 12 months. I believe it was last March. Brother Nasheed Fakruddin.
Ashe.
And to one of our teachers who used to come visit us at our house. He's born one day after Khalil. His birthday is, he wasn't born, he's way older. Who passed away also within the last 12 months. Brother Dr. Laila Africa.
Ashe.
And to our grandmaster teachers, the scholars that kind of got the ball rolling for a lot of us to be able to have the knowledge and wisdom that we have. Brother John Henry Clark, Ashe.
Ashe.
And the other one is I don't know, I'm drawing a blank there. Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakinen, as better known as Dr. Ben. Ashe. Okay. And I'd like to open up the mic to those that would like to call out the name of any other ancestors, and we will I'm gonna pour a libation to them also. So I guess
Helen,
you'll put it in your chat and we'll call out the name.
Helen Pryor,
Ashe,
Ashe. Sandra Longstreet,
Ashe,
Francis Cress Wilson.
that's right, Ashe.
Ashe. We encourage you to put the names of those you would like for us to call in the chat.
Call
Emma-
Malcolm X.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Benny
Good.
Evans,
Ashe.
Ashe.
Dr. Martin Luther King.
Ashe.
Ashe. Marcus Garvey.
Ashe.
Any other names, anyone?
Paul Robeson,
Ashe.
Paula Hawkins,
Ashe.
brown and black souls who passed from COVID-19.
That's right.
Ashe.
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 Al
Brown and
Laverne.
black people killed by police.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Emma Alexander and Griffin Nelson.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Addie Renee Barnes.
Ashe.
Brother Dwayne Reed. Ashe.
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 To all of our civil rights activists.
Ashe.
All right. Oh,
All right. And
sorry.
I'll say Ashe 3 times. We'll pour our last one. We'll say Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Ready? And to all
Ashe.
those saying, Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
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 Including for Queen Lowry.
Okay. All right. All righty. Thank you, everyone from the Crawford household.
Thank you, Brother Crawford. Turn it back over to you, Sister Guy.
Thank you. Now it's time of the lighting of the Kanara. Umoja, unity.
Yep, we can see you.
Kuja Chakalia, self-determination. U- Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ujama, cooperative economics.
All right, it is official. I think we're all ready to be done with 24.
And Nia, purpose. So tonight we're focusing on Nia, which is purpose. And in the great words of Chadwick Boseman, who we will hear shortly after this, I just wanted to define purpose. And purpose is basically consisting of your central motivational aims of your life, the reasons why you get up in the morning. Purpose can guide your life decisions, influence your behavior, shape your goals, offer a sense of direction. Purpose can create meaning in your life. Purpose creates community. Purpose creates your self individualization. And purpose should be the thing that wakes you up every morning. And now we will have a reading. Children's story.
From Ebony.
Hello. So I will share my screen. It's not a, I'm doing a live reading.
Ebony, can you start your video so I can spotlight you? They'll be able to see you.
Oh, yep. Sorry, I didn't realize that's the. Can you all see me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, it doesn't look the same on mine. So. Okay. And then screen share. Okay, this is a story about Mia. Purpose. Once there was a terrible drought in the land of animals. A kindly king came over from the mountain and planted a special tree. He told them that this tree would bear fruit all year round in any kind of weather. All they had to do to get fruit from the tree was speak its name. The name of the tree was Uwangalema. The animals thanked the kind old king, and he returned to his own land, which was far over the mountain. The animals then sounded the great drum to call everyone for miles around. When all the animals gathered at the tree, the Lion King asked Anasi the spider to speak the name of the tree. I thought you were going to remember the name of the tree, said Anasi the spider. I don't remember the name, said the lion. Someone must know it. They asked everyone who had been there when the old king planted the tree, but not one of them could remember the name of the tree. They decided to send someone to ask the name from the king. They were all very hungry, so they decided to send someone fast. They sent the hare. The hare ran as fast as he could through villages, across the river, through the bush, over the mountain, and straight to the court of the kindly old king. The king told him, the name of the tree is Uwangalema. The hare ran back, repeating the name to himself as he went along the way. Uwangalema, Uwangalema. On the way home, he stopped at a river to rest and take a drink. The water was nice and cool. It felt good after all that running. The hare splashed around for a while to cool himself off. Then he got out of the water and started back to the tree. When he got back, all the animals cheered. Now we can have the fruit, they shouted. The hare went up to the tree to speak its name. Umogamomo? No. Ubadaputa? No. Numugamuga? Try as he might, the hare just couldn't remember the name. We have to send someone else, the lion said at last. So the springbok was sent. She ran all the way to the king court over the mountain and tried to keep the name in her head all the way home. But coming through the forest, she tripped over a root and bumped her head. The name was lost again. Next, they sent the leopard. But on the way back, he started chasing a monkey who was teasing him. He forgot the name as well. Many others tried and failed, until finally the tortoise asked if she might go. Most of the animals laughed because the tortoise is so slow. The tortoise went to her mother and asked, "What do you do if you must remember something very important?" Her mother told her to keep repeating it no matter what happens, so the tortoise set out on her journey. When she reached the king over the mountain, he said, "The name of the tree is Uwangalema." The tortoise kept repeating it over and over to herself all the way home. When the monkeys teased her in the forest, she only said, "Uwangalema." When she passed by the Hello? Oh. When she passed by the river and the sound of the water made her thirsty, she looked over at the water and said, "Uwangalema." And when she got near her own house and her own children came running to her, she only said, "Uwangalema." Finally, the tortoise came to the tree, and all the animals were anxiously waiting. The lion spoke, "Tortoise, please speak the name of the tree." The tortoise said, "Uwangalema," and at last the animals were able to eat the fruit. Everyone was grateful for the tortoise, who kept her purpose everywhere where everyone else had failed. I like this story because it shows that by having a sense of purpose, she was able to go through all these different stages and still meet her goal. And she kept focus on that. So I think this is a good story that exhibits purpose.
I remember walking across this yard on what seemed to be a random day, my head down, lost in my own world of issues, like many of you do daily. I'm almost at the center of the yard. I raised my head and Muhammad Ali was walking towards me. Time seemed to slow down as his eyes locked on mine and opened wide. He's raised his fist into a quintessential guard. I was game to play along with him, to act as if I was a worthy opponent. What an honor to be challenged by the GOAT, the greatest of all time, for a brief moment. His face was as serious as if I were Frazier in the Thriller in Manila. His movements were flashes of a past greater than I can imagine. His security let the joke play along for a second before they ushered him away. And I walked away floating like a butterfly. I walked away amused at him, amused at myself, amused at life for this moment that almost no one would ever believe. I walked away light, ready to take on the world. The dynamics of positive and negative seem to exist in extremes.
I told you I'm the real champion. I told you I'm the champion of the world. All of you bow.
Throughout ancient times, institutions of learning have been built on top of hills to convey that great struggle is required to achieve degrees of enlightenment. Each of you had your own unique difficulties with the hill. You know, sometimes your grades don't give a real indication of what your greatness might be. You would rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. Or some of you went through something traumatic. You made it to the top of the hill, but not without scars and bruises. When completing a long climb, one first experiences dizziness, disorientation, and shortness of breath due to the high altitude. But once you become accustomed to the climb, your mind opens up to the tranquility of the triumph. Oftentimes, the mind is flooded with realizations that were for some reason harder to come to when you were at a lower elevation. At this moment, most of you need some realizations because Right now, you have some big decisions to make. I don't know what your future is, but if you're willing to take the harder way, the more complicated one, the one with more failures at first than successes, the one that has ultimately proven to have more meaning, more victory, more glory. As is often the case, those that follow most often enjoy the results of the progress you gain. Sometimes you need to get knocked down before you can really figure out what your fight is. Everything that you fought for was not for yourself. It was for those that come after. Finally, I thought of Ali in the middle of the yard, in his elder years, drawing from his victories and his losses. At that moment, I realized something new about the greatness of Ali and how he carried his crown. I realized that he was transferring something to me on that day. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter in me. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter to me. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter to me.
Thank you all. Am I on?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all for enjoying that video with me. I wanted to start out with that because it was so powerful, as some of you have already said. It that defines what purpose is, and from two great people. But I didn't want you guys to miss the fact that he transferred the power. I think that was the most powerful statement that he made. My name is Paula Hawkins Guy, and I am not a trans. I've been here all my life. I grew up here. I was born here. I've traveled a lot, but this is my home. I'm an occupational therapist. Most people think I'm a massage therapist, and I don't care what you call me, but I am an occupational therapist who basically figured out that most people are stagnant or not reaching their goals because of pain. So pain became my passion, and healing is my gift. And I've been practicing for about 30 years almost, but I've been in my private practice at R3 Station for 20 years. And it's an awesome journey. I've experienced so much. I don't function as a typical occupational therapist. I basically do a lot of body alignment, muscle alignment. I feel that our body is nothing but a heap of clay, and we can transform it and change it and make it do what we need it to do when we need to do it. So I was talking to Angela earlier, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I need a massage. I need a massage." But yeah, you don't want to come to us for a massage. It's not a massage at all. We do not do massages. We do body alignment. And I hear somebody just said facts. So yeah, so that's so I've been listening to us here talk about all these wonderful principles, and I'm hearing that the everybody needs something tangible, something to take away from this. We've been talking and talking for years now, and it's been a little progress, a little action, but I feel that it's been a great momentum these last few days. I feel that energy you guys are generating, are conjuring, and it that's what attracted me to that video, because it's like the same thing. You're conjuring this energy, and we need to do something with it. And right now we're at a time where we can't do much. We're all in quarantine, and we're all at home, and so many people don't feel purposeful. And they're saying that well, pain is an issue, of course, but we're like the guinea pig on the wheel. We're just going around in circles and not getting anywhere. And so we're kind of off our purpose. So I kind of wanted to bring us back into alignment, bring us back to our purpose. And one of the things, I guess I was just talking to my patients and they're saying that they're just having all these thoughts. They're dealing with fear, they're dealing with anxiety, all these what ifs. We don't know tomorrow. You know, one person told me, how can I focus on purpose when I'm in survival mode? And so I guess I wanted to do some activities and give you guys something to take away that's tangible that you can utilize while you're at home dealing with these issues. And I also, and that's where we're going to do some emotional fine tuning. I'm going to teach you how to do tapping. That's one thing you're going to learn today, and we're going to drop a tapping video in so you guys can check that out. And then we're also, I would love for us to do a focus wheel. So as a community, we will later go into that and we'll do a focus wheel, which I pray will lead us to a plan. So we'll basically generate a purpose for us here in Grand Rapids, come up with a focus wheel, and I pray that we'll start a group or a community effort or something to come out of this, because we have so many geniuses and brilliant people on here. And it's time. It's time. I feel the momentum. I feel the energy. We have it. It's like everybody is in a let's go mode, and it's just so stifling because we're stuck at home. So I just wanted to do some exercises. So the first thing we're gonna drop in is the mind tuning, the EFT. And this is just something where when I was trying to get motivated, I went to a psychiatrist and he did a lot of neuro psych things. And this is one of the things he did with me. And it's called emotional fine tuning. And it's called tapping. And you can do this dealing with fear, for weight loss, dealing with anger, anytime to change a behavior. I don't know if Dr. King is on here, but I'm sure she can chime in and help me in this issue, on this subject. But it's just something that I've been doing, and it helped me to start exercising. I had to slowly continue to do this because, you know, I spent about 20 years not exercising because I didn't want to mess my hair up. So that's the kind of decision some of us make when we're younger. We don't really know the value of exercise or the things, or eating right, or the things that we need to do, because like most of us are in survival mode. So this is a way to get out of survival mode. If it's just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just stop, do some deep breathing. Let's all just stop right now and just take a couple deep breaths. In and out. It just slows down everything. Another one. In and out. One more. Let's take a deep breath in. In, let it go. Out. And believe it or not, most of you probably haven't done that probably all year. So it's hard to be on your purpose or practicing all these principles or being kind or generous or helpful or prosperous or all these things that are our purpose right now. But we're kind of stifled because we're in a pandemic and we're in quarantine. So emotional fine tuning is just a sequence. You usually put a thought in your mind that you want to work on. Like I said, I did exercise. Right now I'm dealing with changing my eating behaviors. It can be anything, fear of snakes. It could be changing jobs, any fear, anything that's kind of holding you back. You're scared to jump in the water. This is just a little exercise I do to get me past the point of not doing, just taking that baby step ahead. So it's real simple, and the tapping is simple. You're just taking your fingers and you're just tapping. So usually I start here. There's other people that like to start at the thumb. But I usually start here at my face, right at the side of my eye, and you just tap And it's a light tap. You're not tapping to cause any pain. You're not changing anything. And then you go to the side of your eye, and whatever side you start, I typically try to stay on that side. You can switch hands, but I do try to stay on that side. And you tap here. And right now I'm thinking of peace. So my focus is peace. Anybody can focus on whatever. And I tap about 8 to 10 times. And then I go under the eye. And then I go under my nose right here at this pivotal point right here at your nose. And then you go under your chin. And you're tapping, and you just continue to focus on, I'm focusing on peace. It could be a new job. It can be fears. It could be whatever. Then you just go through this. The next thing is your collarbone. You tap here. And then it's right at the side of your armpit. You tap. And then you come down to your breastbone and you tap. And this is just emotional fine tuning, and you just start the sequence over and over again until it feels less restrictive. It feels less intense. It doesn't hurt as much. I do this with my patients with pain. I do it with any kind of change of behavior. It's just a way, I say, to trick the mind, to change the way you think. It's just an exercise, and it makes you feel like you're doing something. But believe it or not, it works. It works to get to, it went from not exercising to forcing myself to exercise to do it grudgefully to now I don't feel like me if I don't go walk. I don't feel like me if I don't take that 30 minutes to do something for me. Whether it's yoga or stretching, I tell people every day, do something for you, and that'll keep you on your purpose. All these things I'm giving you to keep us on our purpose, what we are supposed to do. So back to purpose. Any questions on that? I don't want to move forward. If you can raise your hand, and I believe they will unmute you. Any questions on emotional freedom techniques, emotional fine tuning, tapping? Is anybody familiar with it? Has anybody tried it? Nope. Okay.
I don't see any raised hands or questions in the chat.
No.
Hi, Paula.
Hi.
I would ask, can you, we probably could find that, but can you throw that chart into, can we get a copy of that, so that we can use it?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. And it's nothing that you have to do every day. It's just that when you are feeling lack, feeling fear, we all have that sense of, I get it in my stomach. Everybody is so individual. It's so hard to say what a person will feel and will do and how it will change. But whenever I get that gut feeling in my stomach that I'm falling short, I'll go back to these remedies, these little techniques that you have in your back pocket, and they work. They work. I promise you, they work. It's a change of habit. It's a change of mind, and this will help you stay on your purpose. And I see it's been dropped in. Angela is awesome. That's all I want to say. So getting to our life purpose should be a unifying theme. And I just wanted to say, everybody is just so down. It's just this heavy energy, and I'm just trying to break through the clouds and show people that this is temporary, and we have to find things to do. Go to YouTube University. I tell people, since I was shut down from March 16th till June 29th. And at first I sat that first week at home angry and not knowing what to do and bitter. And then I went to YouTube University. I learned how to garden, and I started cooking new dishes. And then I was introduced to Janelle, and I joined the farmers co-op, and she started bringing me vegetables I never heard of.
I say.
Yes.
Ashe.
Ashe, yes. and started cooking new things. I mean, you can learn, I have a friend, she started a whole new business doing t-shirts and novelty items, and there's so much information on YouTube University. There's no reason why we should be home idle. Learn something, keep that energy up. And believe it or not, when you change that, when you start doing stuff, your purpose also change. You meet new people, think you attract different opportunities. From gardening, I met so many new gardeners. I met it's the whole gardening community here. I found out about Baxter Community Garden, and they gave me all kind of tips and plants and things to do. So once you get active and take action and start moving forward, then that's when your purpose develops and grow and change and nurture. And sometimes your purpose is fluent. It can be as small as loaning somebody $2. That happens here a lot right here, because my business is at the bus stop. My purpose that day was maybe just to get somebody a ride, a couple coins. Or it could be a friend crying on your shoulder. And then it could be as big as the doctor that figured out the vaccine. It can be big, it can be small. Some people purpose right now is just to have a little money to help other people. Some people purpose is to need, is to ask for money. Our purpose is fluent, it's going to change. And especially right now, we just have to reinvent ourselves sometimes. You know, if you want to, you know, your goal is to open up a restaurant, but right now we can't open up a restaurant. This is not a smart thing to do. So we have to just keep on changing ourselves, creating ourselves. We are creators. We can create anything. I tell people that all the time. You can create anything, anything that we haven't even thought of yet is possible. And oftentimes these things occur when you're doing something else, when you're not focused on the thing that binds you. So I've been identifying purpose, and like I said, it changes all the time. And instead of when somebody need to borrow a couple of dollars right now, you feel comfortable doing it because that's your purpose right now. Or if somebody need a kidney, you're always purposeful, but you have to be ready. Just like Chadwick said, when he if he didn't go to that yard, he never would have bypassed Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali transferred his energy. And that's what we need our elders to do. We are hungry. We are desperate. We are waiting for our elders to transfer that energy. But if you don't get on Zoom, basically, or make that phone call or send that email right now because we're stuck, that's what happens. We miss that next opportunity for our purpose. So I'll just keep going. So sometimes our purpose is straightforward, but we need to keep it pretty simple. So it can be as simple as being a catalyst for positive change in somebody's life. Your purpose tomorrow could be to give somebody a realization that they have a light inside of them. You can show up somewhere and you can be a calm to a bunch of chaos and a storm. It's just your presence. It doesn't have to be your words. It's just your energy. Your vibrant energy can show up somewhere where you don't even know your purpose there. You just show up. You know, sometimes you're driving down the street and you get a idea to stop at a store that you normally don't stop at, and you run into a person you haven't seen in years and you reconnect. That kind of things is your purpose. That's your small purposes. We have our big purposes and we have our small purposes. Sometimes it's just to be an organization to somebody, to offer organization to somebody, life, to help them with their goals, to assist them along the way. Purpose is it's changing, it's fluent. Sometimes you have to step out of your box and be open and accept what's in front of you. And I think we just, as a people, we have a hard time with change. We have a very hard time with change. And I just ask people to just be open. Open your hands. When you open your hands, you can receive. Closed fists, like my grandma used to say, closed mouths don't get fed. Closed hands can't reach. Closed hands can't receive. So just open your hands sometime and try it. Because so many times I want to say we have a fear, but we are so reluctant to change and to try new things and to get out there. But if you have a fear, you can just go try it on YouTube. You don't have to jump out there. You don't have to go buy a bunch of soil or seeds or find land. You can just go experience it on YouTube first and then go put that expense out there. So when we were meeting these few days, I was basically listening to you all, and you brought me so much joy, and you guys have really been motivating me, and I ended up talking to Miss Sheena yet today. She got something big for you tomorrow. But as I'm sitting there, I get a text message, and Deanna is with us. Hi, Deanna. Deanna friend was with us, and out of the blue, she blessed me with this poem, and I just wanted to share with you guys before we go into our next activity. And it's titled Nia Purpose, and this is by Deanna Friend. And it says, sometimes our purpose is to be a positive force in our own community. Yes, it is a calling from God, or simply the duty of discernment. Either way, your gifts and talents may be the missing link, the needed void in our community. Your voice, releasing a message of inspiration, hope, meaning, can be the leading force, ready to catapult a nation, a culture, an individual into their next phase of purpose. Do not hesitate, because lives depend on you. This intentional path is yours, and you are qualified. That is by Deanna Friend. And we all give her a clap. And I thank you, and I receive that, and I'm going to get this printed, and I'm going to be reading this often. So nice poem, yes it is.
Thank you, Paula.
You're welcome. So our next thing we're going to go into, and this is going to take a little time, so I'm kind of going fast, but any other questions on purpose? Because the key to purpose is basically behaving as if you're worthy enough to have a purpose. So every morning you got to tell yourself, I am worthy enough to have a purpose. I am open to receive my next purpose. I am open to receive my next assignment. I am open. You just leave yourself open. Stop being so closed and shut off and resistant. Be open. Be like the energy you are, and accept what is next for you. And I just know, I always say, I pledge, AKA, so excuses are tools of incompetence. But this is an excuse, and it's a rightful excuse, because we all are stuck at home. So we have to reinvent ourselves. We have to refocus. We have to shake it up a little bit, try new things. So what the next step I wanted to go into is we heard from the Queen of Sheba. This has been a remarkable time, and the next thing I want to do is a focus wheel. And I believe we're not going to play the video, but I do practice the law of attraction, and I do follow Abraham Hicks, often. And she teaches us about the focus wheel. So basically, your thoughts are what you attract. And that's the good news, and that's the bad news. Because if you're thinking good thoughts and you're staying on track and you're open and receiving, usually that's the energy you attract, and those are the kind of things that happen for you. But when you have shifted and your focus is negative or fear or blight, that's basically what you experience. So your thoughts are basically that energy that you are putting out into the universe. that energy connects with other energy, like energy, and it just creates more and more of the same energy. So I tell myself, when I catch myself with that thought, I try to catch that thought. And then I either figure out what I'm gonna do with it. I'm either gonna cut it up or throw it away or keep it. So those are the things I do all the time when I catch myself with that stinking thinking. I either am gonna catch it, I'm either gonna cut it up, I'm gonna throw it away, or I'm gonna keep it. So if we have if we have the opportunity to have any thought in the world we want, we can think anything. We can have good thoughts or bad thoughts. Why waste your time on this earth? We are only a chapter in a small book. That's all our life is going to be, a chapter in a small book. Why waste any time with negative thoughts when you can flip it? You know, when you can always flip that thought. You can turn it around. You know, I used to always, I went to private school, so I was always the black girl in the class. So when I went into the room, the first thing I always looked for was another black person, of course. But you walk in always self-conscious. You walk in like, oh, is my hair good? Is my breath stinking? You're always so self-conscious because you want to be the black person representing the black people. So when you're there and you start thinking those thoughts and you get down on yourself, that's what you attract. You attract those negative comments. You attract those negative friends, those negative people. But if you can walk in a room and know that you are resilient, that everything is possible, nothing is impossible, that you were sent here to share this energy, to share this love, to share these words, then everything changed. You're going to attract people that have that same kind of energy, that has that same kind of love and nurturing and the things that you need to bond with. Because the idea is to create momentum, to start somewhere and progress it so it grows. But you don't want to grow a hate. You don't want to grow fear. So we have to be very, very, very aware of our thoughts. So going into this focus wheel, I'm going to ask everybody to take some deep breaths again, because I don't want to go into this focus wheel with any negative energy, with any negative thoughts, with any negative purpose. I want to just take the time and everybody just think of something positive. It can be love. You can breathe in patience. You can breathe in financial security. You can bring in community love, community healing. And basically, let's just take a moment first before we go into this next section. And let's just breathe in some peace. Let's breathe in some discernment. Let's just stop for a moment and take this pause and just breathe. So just take a deep breath in. And then we're going to hold it this time. Think of a positive thought and then release. Next deep breath, we're going to take it in, far as you can go. And then you're going to hold it. You're going to think of a positive thought, something inspirational, hopeful. And then you're going to release it. Again, another deep breath. Take it in, hold it, fill your body with all that beauty and love and free. It's free right now, free air. And now you can release it and just let it all go. So you can't see the focus wheel, but a focus wheel consists of, I'll be turning the camera some, but the focus wheel consists of just a plain circle. And you make it like a pie. And you create these little outer areas, but in the middle of your focus wheel, you put your goal or your purpose. So I kind of wanted to have our goal and purpose to focus on our community and what is our purpose and our goal here in the context of Kwanzaa, our community. What is our next step? What are we inspiring to do? What are we asking for? What are we hoping for? What is next? What are we going to offer next? Because this is only a 1 week a year, but it's Kwanzaa 365, but we have to be active 365. And I hear trust and support one another, and that's a beautiful thing. We do need to trust and support one another. But even before we get there, I think we need to get back to the roots. Um, I, I feel a healing is necessary. We discussed that the other day. A healing is so necessary. And you heal by letting go. You heal by accepting. My biggest healing was not caring what anybody else thought of me, my business, anything. And that's a big leap. That's a big leap to get there. You don't get there in your 20s or your 30s. It takes a lot of downfalls, heartache, heartbreak. It takes a lot of experience. But one thing to do is to think about what, as a community, that we need to come together and really be active and make sure it's really our intention. It has to be an intent. It has to be a necessary intent. We can't just say it. We have to feel it in our hearts, because if we don't feel it in our hearts, we're not creating that energy, and it's not going to become fruition. So I'm seeing some good comments on the side. Forgiving self, forgiving those that damaged us. And we can put that in there. So my energy is feeling healing and forgiveness.
Can I throw
That's
one in?
something that the group would like to focus on as a community.
Can I throw one in, Paula?
Absolutely.
You made mention of something that, last year's Kwanzaa, there were 4 Kwanzaas, and this year, this Grand Rapids Citywide Kwanzaa has brought us all together into one Kwanzaa.
Wow.
And we've kind of coined the phrase GR Kwanzaa 365, because we had a real determination last year that we should not just practice Kwanzaa for 7 days, box it up, put it on a shelf, and not do it again until next year. So we're developing a calendar, and we would like Kwanzaa for 7 days. Then we're going to do Dr. King's birthday when it comes. Then we're going to be involved in Black History Month when it comes. Then we're going to be involved in Juneteenth when it comes. And the Kwanzaa GR, or the GR Kwanzaa 365 committee, group of people, community, wants to take these 7 principles, and we want to live them 365 days a year.
Yes.
That's a goal that I would throw on the table, that the community in Grand Rapids live all 7 principles every day. I also like the healing too. I do think we need some healing.
Live 7 principles. Okay. So the goal our focus will be healing, forgiveness, and to live the 7 principles 365 days. Okay. So that's going to go into the center of our focus wheel. That's where we are. So I don't know how we can put the comments on the side, or you can raise your hand and they'll unmute you. But we're going to use that positive energy we conjured and come up with pieces of this. And these are going to basically be the steps to get there. And I would like to start with you, Nick, because I hear that you just said basically community relations or community outreach. What was your community participation or?
Community programming, where we bring people into contact with Kwanzaa principles at Dr. King's Day, at Black History Month, at Juneteenth, probably find some kind of fall event to tie it to, so that we get this kind of ever flowing. It's every month someone's been they're still talking about Kwanzaa. Oh, really? And then, because if you just do it once a year, you forget. We were on fire, and then it fades.
Right. Okay, anyone else? So far we have two. I have community programming, togetherness, and I have monthly annual celebrations. Chime in.
Just for clarity.
Remember, our focus is on healing, forgiveness, and living our seven principles. So we're just putting stuff on our pie to get to here. So we're just adding things in our slices to get us to healing, to get us to forgiveness, and to give us living our seven principles.
Could it be
Anyone?
that we, for healing,
Yes.
it's on the healing, because that comes in a number of ways, but primarily I'm thinking about the mental health of our community. There is an effort by Commissioner Sparks. She has a mental health awareness campaign, and I think just supporting it, which in turns brings awareness on the services and the mostly the services that she's promoting. I know she has like a booklet with a bunch of different resources, agencies, institution, private therapists, all that can, provide healing to our community, but just access to that information. I think she needs our help.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think of what the campaign is. If anyone knows it, please chime in. But I know it's around maybe Community of Hearts, I think it is. But it's focused on mental health and wellness.
Mental health. Oh, I gotta put in wellness. You're right, and wellness. Okay, so far, I'm gonna keep showing you our wheel. We have I put supporting our Black businesses, information access, mental health and wellness, awareness of the services in our community, community programming, togetherness, monthly annual celebrations. How are we gonna live our seven principles? How are we gonna forgive, and how are we gonna heal?
I would just like to piggyback off of the mental illness point of view. This is Deanna.
Hi, Deanna.
And hi, everyone. I think it's very important to, when we mention mental illness, to address ourselves and have self-love, self-forgiveness, because there are a whole lot of issues that does lead up to healing and forgiveness. I always like to just stick with childhood traumas that just encompasses so many emotions. So I think if we target self-love through any reflection that we pass through, just shout out some love to yourself and just really become one with yourself. And I think that's how we can continue to help pass on and encourage the Black community.
Yes.
May I?
And one thing I would like to add is, like we said, the transfer of power or the transfer of energy from our elders.
Yes.
Keep going. I'm writing.
Transfer of energy and wisdom. I guess is that all encompassing?
I was going to say gratitude or practicing gratitude is a good way to help that forgiveness portion and work on thinking about yourself and the blessings that you have over the years, and makes you more grateful for what you're going to do.
Yeah. Come on, we still got slices of the pie.
A lot of slices.
We're trying to get to a healing in our community. We're trying to get to forgiveness. And how can we live? I need an elder to speak on that, please. Living these seven principles. What is your recommendation? How can we live the seven principles?
Practice, practice, practice.
So I guess knowing them, because most of us don't know the seven principles. So knowing.
Yes, we have to publish them, speak them, keep the words and names alive.
Yes.
Give people the definitions so that they can understand what we're focusing on, and then encourage practice. Perfect practice leads to perfection. Iyanla Van Zant and her Tapping the Power Within years ago had a companion tape on forgiveness. It was one of the greatest tools I ever ran across, and it allowed me to forgive events, teachers, people, things that had happened to me back from 8th grade forward.
Wow.
And I was able to throw off all those weights. It just changed my life. This was, I think, in the 80s. I ran across, well, we had the tape and the book. I don't know if it's still available, and they don't do tapes anymore, but it might be available in the library or CD. Tapping the Power Within, the forgiveness tape. Awesome for those of us who didn't know how to forgive and get rid of it and not revisit the hatred or dislike or whatever we had for individuals or circumstances. And it frees you.
Yes. And
Yes, it
freedom
does.
is priceless.
Yes,
Freedom is priceless.
LMA.
So I did put down teach the children. I did put down have faith in our people.
Yeah.
What can we do about the negative energy?
I think move on genuine acts. Yes, pray, but move genuinely. Move genuinely.
Move on genuine acts.
Move genuinely.
Yes.
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 Walk in truth. You know, we cover up so much. We hide so many things under that rug, and that rug is about to explode. So if we stay genuine, not only with ourselves and with our people, you know, people know if you're here to help or hinder.
Yes. Yes. Because we can feel that energy. We can discern energy. And I think that's a gift that our people has had, although we oftentimes allow others to
oh, maybe they in their lobby room.
Pardon me?
Still doing that.
Your sound is muffled. I'm sorry.
Who, Paul is? Oh. I got it. She's like, her hand, a little paper was shaking.
Maybe somebody need to mute. I'm not sure. But so far, you guys, this focus wheel is coming together. We have walk in your own truth, move in genuine acts, or move genuinely, move on genuine acts or move genuinely, not caring what others think of us, have faith in people, teach the children, supporting our Black businesses, have information, access to information, mental health and wellness awareness, as well as awareness of our services in our community, community programming of togetherness, monthly annual celebrations, self-love, forgiveness, encouragement, the transfer of energy from our elders, gratitude, and knowing, publishing, practicing our 7 principles. We have a few more slices left. Anybody else?
Yes. Can I add another?
Yes.
Not only should we educate the children, but I also believe there is some education required within the community. And if we can have hard conversations, people will call it out and say, this is a safe space. So I'm calling it out. This is a safe space. I think we need to eliminate some of the obstacles to Kwanzaa. And one of those can be fear within the church. So as you say to the church, hey, we want the community to practice Kwanzaa. Well, the church often says, well, is it going to be Christian faith? Is it going to be my particular Muslim faith or Jewish faith or what? And they get caught up on people practicing Kwanzaa want to call out to the ancestors and bring the ancestors into the room. They want to burn incense and they want to do all this stuff. And sometimes Christians get scared about, is this witchcraft or is this some kind of, counter to the church and what I've been taught? So I don't know how to say that succinctly other than we have to deal with the hard conversation with the church.
But Netta, you said something big. You said a safe space. Where is our safe space for us in our community? Do we need to create a safe space? Do we have a safe space? How do we get to a safe space?
There is talk in the GR Kwanzaa 365 movement of buying a piece of property in the city and creating a Kwanzaa center that's open 365 days a year, so that when someone just got into a fight with their husband or their boyfriend or whatever, and they're in a place of distress, they can literally go to the Kwanzaa Center and get help. And all this learned kids could come in, after school programming could be done there. So a physical space, literally the collective purchasing and creating a physical space is another way to do it. But I still think we need to have a hard conversation with detractors of Kwanzaa.
Yes, and I agree with you, Ned, but I think it's an individual task. People are going to have to just come on to get over it, because Kwanzaa is unified. Kwanzaa is purpose. Kwanzaa is just our Black culture and heritage, which we have seemed to have lost. And hopefully, not to just label the church people, but hopefully church people can see right now that the churches are closed. Coronavirus is here.
Mm-hmm.
And are you in a relationship with your God, or a God, or whomever you choose to be your God? It's about relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't see that the churches are closed and church still goes on where 2 or 3 are gathered, it's what you are, the individual spews out. Your discernment should call it out.
Yeah, and along with that, there are church people on this call this evening. So I don't know if, I know that's I think the statement about church people coming along is an individual task, right? If you think about when you think about when Kwanzaa was founded, and I don't know how much support Dr. Karenga had at that time. It was in 66, right? So think about the momentum that has been generated and evolved since 66, which is only, it's not very long ago, less than 70 years. I don't know how long, can't do the quick math, but my point being that
53.
53, I think we just focus on reaching those that we can reach, and people will come along, and instead of trying to convince an institution, I think we just bring along those who are ready to celebrate and embrace. And as families, new families continue to come along, then generations are impacted by that. And you capture church people, non-church people, you capture people who are willing and yearning for this type of connectedness that Kwanzaa, I believe, creates and has evidence itself even in the.
So what is missing? Why are we not prepared?
I was going to say, just kind of thinking about this conversation on community, of rebranding or reevaluating our concept of what a community is and where we are, especially when it comes to kind of churches and the idea that that was our original safe space, our community gathering places. And so if the church is no longer in that position to be that safe space or that gathering place for our community, how do we continue to have an inclusive community within that context? And then creating a organization or creating a space, a place for that rebranding, or that idea of how do we reinvent or refocus our overall community to be inclusive of all of those who are in the diaspora. A lot of times I even think about people who are immigrants from African countries who are not really sure about the African American experience, and how great Kwanzaa is to educate them and bring us closer together, but yet there seems to be a disconnect in even unifying that. So just kind of expanding our thought on community and how we can bring everyone into the fold.
Yeah. So
I have a comment for the final slice. I'm over here trying to get my little teeny comment in. Because you guys were talking about mental health, and I'm at work right now. So we were just.
I referred to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So as I was listening to all the comments about mental health, I said, "Oh, there's a lot of interest in mental health out there." And one of the things that I've been talking about with my son, because my son is about 27 now, and he's having his epiphany about, feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. And Paula, you were alluding to that in your presentation. And so I've coined this little hashtag TQT, think quality thoughts. Because a lot of times in our community, we go on feeling, we are melanated people, and melanin is a neurotransmitter. And so we feel, and we feel it intensely. And we, Ned was talking about how the church, is perceiving the feeling of what an incense burning means. Now that's their not the church, some people, let's say some people's perception of this, burning of an incense. Some people want to perceive that as negative. There's nowhere that's written that would be needed to be interpreted as negative. If you actually look at the burning of incense throughout the history of religion, it is used. And now the biology of what it does for us actually is there. So things like frankincense, myrrh, those are woods that are burned. The Catholic Church uses an incense in its opening. The Palo Santo wood is used in South America by the shamans. And so when we think about people's perceptions of an event, I think that's just one of the things that allows us to really embrace the cognition of mental health. A lot of people like to say it's the heart, but we know that the heart is just an organ that pumps blood. It's really our brains that are the feeling, thinking, and doing organ of the body. So as we start to educate each other about this and we become one, like that's what this whole Kwanzaa 365 is about, is really just having this like safe space where we can have these very sometimes difficult conversations. Yesterday on the Kwanzaa call, there was some disagreement about where we ought to go in terms of the Lumi or the cooperative. And it was a safe space. We're like, you don't have to choose, you can have both, And so I think that's the beauty of something like this, where people are able to have the ability to express themselves, not take it personal, not and say, I'm not trying to change your mind. If you don't want to invest in it, that's fine. If you don't want to sign up for the federation, that's fine. You don't have to. It's just new knowledge. It's going to take up this much of your brain cells. Okay. You can do something with it or not. You know what I'm saying? And so just that allows us to have a safe space, I believe. So thinking quality thoughts and understanding that often people's intentions are not negative. They may not be housed in knowledge. They may be housed out of some non-knowledge, which some people call ignorance, but they're not necessarily malicious, right? People's intentions aren't always malicious. They just may be housed in not knowing.
Yeah.
So thinking quality thoughts, that's my 2 cents.
Oh, that was some good 2 cents. Yes, quality thoughts really matter. Yes, and that's like I said, in positive thoughts and being aware. Most of us we are not even aware of all these thoughts that are going in our head because we're preoccupied. They're just happening. And mind control, getting control of your thoughts and having some mind control, it's an exercise, it's a practice. It's nothing that happens naturally. You have to be in alignment with it, be aware of it, and you have to deal with them because they keep coming back. They don't go away until you actually deal with them. I've learned that at 50. So it looks like we have come up with a beautiful wheel, focus wheel. And usually once you do a focus wheel, you can meditate on it. You can pick something that you would like to focus on. One of the issues, it sounds like mental health is a big one here in our community. I've been referring so many people to Network 180 and also to you, Dr. King. We have to know what's in our community. Many people, don't know about R3 Station, or they don't know who are our Black doctors in the community, who are our Black business. I know Grab is working on that, but we have to know each other. We don't know each other. We're so afraid of what someone might say. We're so afraid of what someone might think. We're so afraid of being hurt again. Or here in Grand Rapids, the biggest thing that happens, and I have actually caught myself, and I don't do it, is we want to tell a transplant people who come here from other places about someone. We want to warn them. Well, they're not necessarily going to have the same experience that you had with that person because their energy is different. So you can't tell somebody else about their experience they're going to have with another person because you don't know. So I don't put that negative energy out there. If I had a bad experience, sometimes you got to let that person experience it for themselves. So we just have to, I guess, get out of ourselves. And people change. I am not the same person I was in my 20s. Maybe I was meaner. Maybe I did talk about it. If I did, I'm sorry. I am sorry. But I was a mean person. So I have changed now. I have different energy now. I'm not the same person. So you need to re-meet me. We need to re-meet each other because we have changed. Everything is constant. Everything is evolving. We're not the same people we were 20 years ago. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's some people that were a crackhead when in their 20s and they still a crackhead in their 50s. But people change. People grow. And everybody is not going to be stagnant and stuck back in the 90s. So usually once you do a focus wheel, what I'll do is I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to Angela and Angela can drop it in. But once we are focused on something, then usually we have a sense of community. When I was listening to many people that are not from Grand Rapids and don't want to come to Grand Rapids, it's because we don't have a sense of our African American community. We don't have we speak negative about our African American community. What if we change that? Is that a way to get to healing? Is that a way to get to forgiveness? Is that a way to get to the 7 principles? What if we just change our words? What if we said Grand Rapids do have some Black thriving businesses? Maybe if we said Grand Rapids do have some educated, genuine, loving doctors. What if we said, because right now it's we don't have too many Black doctors. You don't want to go to such and such. You don't want to go to such, or we're warning each other, and some of it you may need to take heed to it, but some of it you need to pocket it, use it as a reference, but experience it yourself. Go see it for yourself. Don't take other people's word. Do not block or don't go to a business because of somebody else's experience. Because I've learned, I have a friend, everywhere she goes, the food is bad. The person was mean. This happened. They always have a bad experience. Well, maybe it's them. Maybe you need to go try it for yourself and have that experience for yourself, because your energy, people don't respond to you the same as they respond to other people. It's going to be a different experience no matter what.
Mr. Guy, can we possibly squeeze on that wheel? I don't know if we have to create another pie.
Go ahead. We can add. We can add.
I'm just trying to think, with living out the 7 principles, and I think the word culture, I put create, elevate, and support, but somehow celebrate. Maybe I'll just say celebrate our Black culture, and then that can tie in somehow to the
celebrations, and we'll say celebrate. We'll put it right here.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know who I am, I I work for our Convention and Visitor Bureau, and I will tell you this is where I live at the intersection of I'm trying to use my words, pride and not even shamefulness, but I have the unique ability to promote Grand Rapids and our and Black culture in Grand Rapids, and all cultures, not just Black culture, but I am Black, and so therefore I get most excited and most more excited and more concerned about Black culture at times, right? And so, here I am talking to people who are going to visit our city, and believe me, I get people that send me personal messages on Instagram and Facebook if they're coming to the city because they want to know what is there to do, where should they go eat. So I give a lot of recommendations, and I do it proudly, but it hurts my heart when there's this counter narrative to the Black experience and Black cultural experience here. So it's like on one hand there's pride, but then on the other hand there's this shamefulness, or they want to hide the evidence of Black culture here, and how do we define that, right? You can go to some cities where it's clearly defined, and it's clearly defined by not only the residents but those who visit the city. And I think Grand Rapids has its own stigma and culture, but we can create for ourselves the culture that we want to resonate. And then you have organizations like ours that can help the community get that message out beyond the walls, the cities and boundaries of Grand Rapids, so that when people come here, they're excited to visit a GR Norar or the African American Museum, or our shops and our placemakers and our churches, and see murals that reflect our community on whatever side of town. And so that restoration of Black culture is what I really like to see. And if it has to be, just for the purpose of this wheel connected to the 7 principles, I mean, that in itself, I think is the best alignment. But the more we talk positively, and I get it, I don't want to diminish the challenges our city has, but the more we talk positively about what can be, what is, what can be, then I think that's when we begin to move the needle, because now we take ownership of the challenges we have, and we start to do something about it versus relying on institutions, government, or whatnot to fix our problems. We are doing the work in our community now that we've established what that can look like for us with healing and forgiveness, and move forward. So when we invite our friends, our family here, we are celebrating Black culture in Grand Rapids.
Yes, absolutely. I agree, and I added it into the monthly annual celebration. I put celebrate our Black culture.
Okay.
So I got it all in there. That was a perfect place to put it.
Great. Brother Elamine asks, what does it mean, contain? I don't know if that was for me or just in general. Can you expound, Brother Elamine?
I think he's talking about the company.
Oh, I said a Convention and Visitor Bureau. I didn't. Which markets and promotes Grand Rapids as a destination to visitors.
I know I Google, I'm building a new website, so I put my, I was trying to get to my website the other day, and I see Grab had added my business to their website. So I think Grab is also trying to make us more aware of each other's businesses.
they are. Mhm.
I see you're unmuted. Khalid,
What?
are you speaking?
How do we define Black culture? What is it? What does it mean?
Mhm. Yes. How do we define it? What, and I'm open. I define it as, what is it? Like, especially here. Because when I define it, it doesn't even replicate what I experience here. And most people who travel, especially you, know that it's a whole new world out there as far as defining our black culture here. Because does it exist? It seems like we spent more time trying to erase it than appreciate it.
You know, I think it's defined as the sum total of our contributions and how we elevate our contributions, whether it's through entrepreneurship, through our philanthropic efforts. You know, it refers to our contributions as African Americans here in the city. That's how I define it. I don't know if that's agreed upon, but
what? And then, yes, go ahead.
I think we all should be cognizant of the fact that I went to Dr. Karenga's. I have to admit, I've learned a lot about Kwanzaa, and this year is the first year I've really kind of dove into the actual Dr. Karenga stuff, you know. But when I went to his website today, something struck me so deeply. The website said, "We are the guardians of an ancient and magnificent history and culture." So if you really got into Dr. Tynes last year or Dr. Moncrief at the Kwanzaa that was at Life Quest, what is our culture? Medicine, mathematics, astronomy, architecture, the wonder that is around us in Grand Rapids. So much of it is literally Black culture that's been whitewashed. We are the great builders who the Greeks studied, who the Arabs study, who brought it in the in the Great Reformation, or coming out of the Dark Ages. You know what I'm talking about. So what is Black culture? Phenomenal music, dance, poetry, literature. It's bigger than Ebonics or a particular style of music, or, we limit ourselves. We are the guardians of magnificent culture. You name it. It started in Africa. Kwanzaa started in the 60s with Karenga, but he was studying ancient African principles that are 40,000 years old. We're just tapping back into a culture that was erased from us. So if you want to know what Black culture is, it's the most magnificent of everything. It's the most complicated math problems you can think of. It's science, it's chemistry, it's a medicine, it's everything. It's all the good stuff.
Everything, yes. And I was born in the 70s, well, in 1970. And I think that from 1970 forward, we spent a lot of time, money and energy erasing our culture. From our hair, from our dress, from our speech, from our dance, from our sense of community. We were trying to erase that to become more accepted, because we started moving into different neighborhoods and working in different environments. So we tried to erase that part of us to blend in. And I think now that we're just getting back to our natural hair, we're just getting back to who we are. So I think maybe we lost a big chunk of it, because I didn't experience it growing up. I just did not experience Kwanzaa. I did not experience any Black culture growing up until, I had to go search for it. So people, you're not that awareness. People need to know where they can go, get educated or experience it, or even how do they contact our elders.
So I work in historic preservation, and a lot of conversation around historic preservation is about tangible versus intangible, especially when we talk about African American culture that is often vernacular or in a space that is not necessarily elite or the White House or whatever. How do you embrace a sharecropper's house, or how do you embrace a home that was built by an African American architect? Those are kind of the spaces and places that that help define our culture that oftentimes get overlooked and put on the back burner for our communities as far as preserving and saving them. Oftentimes I'm just letting people know about the options that they have to protect and to preserve their family's archives or their family's history, because they haven't, or people haven't been taught that that stuff becomes culture. It becomes where our generations next will look back and say that was our culture, that those were our traditions. And I feel that our African Americans who live in this country, we have always had to restart learning. So we would learn about our culture. We're free. We get to do our own thing. We can learn. We can do self-determination, and then we get kicked back and we have to hide again. Then we start up again. We start learning, and then something else comes from the system, the racism stuff structure that we have, and we have to relearn. Throughout that time, losing all of those great communities, all of those great assets that we are building. And so I always try to make sure that people know that what you have, what you've learned, what you collect within your family is precious. It is so precious. These homes that your grandparents bought, this land, that is so important, so precious. And I don't think that people realize that we lose those because, you know, down the line, people are like, well, what happened to that house? What happened to those places? Well, it's owned by a whole nother group who doesn't value the integrity that was put into that house by that culture. So I look at the Jewish culture often and just marvel at their ability to continue traditions passed down throughout their persecution, throughout moving and going different places. How are they able to preserve their culture when they're not in their homeland, and kind of using that idea of we have to continue to just force our kids to learn, force them to just say, this is what it is. We are Black, we are proud. These are our ancestors, these are our elders. That house was built by a Black man and he's amazing. You know, just pointing things out and saying that just because it looks like a shack, that doesn't mean anything. It housed Booker T. Washington, or, you know, just encouraging that awe and that, oh, this is important. This is important for us to save. We can't just let it go. In Baltimore, Cab Calloway's house was just slated for demolition because nobody cared. You know, it was not a big fight for the developer to have to do that. And however, you can probably get tons of people who would say Frank Sinatra's house each one of them needs to be saved. So we have to take pride in the resources that we still have available and still around for us to protect.
Yeah. So this was awesome. I don't know if I probably got more information than you guys. I feel full. But I got a text that we probably should be wrapping up. We will, I did take a picture and send the focus wheel so that prayerfully the next thing we'll do is pick something out of there and make it our essential focus this year. Change our thoughts and help each other. we need to help each other. So I will do some closing remarks after we do our Harambe chant. So that's next on our agenda. So if we can all, do we unmute for the Harambe?
Yes, everyone unmute. So we'll do
Unmute.
5 Harambes for the 5th principle. So we'll take your lead, Sister Guy.
Are you all ready? You reach up in the air?
Turn your cameras on.
Oh yeah, turn your cameras on.
I can't turn mine on. I'm not looking.
If you're decent.
Right. If you're cold.
I'm still here working for getting ready for Friday, so I'm looking a mess. I'm sorry.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's reach. Harambe.
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 Harambe. Harambe.
Yes. It's has been so enlightening, and I thank you all for sharing your time with me. I'm excited. I feel like I told you earlier, I do feel the momentum. I want to be a part of it. I do have space. If we need to start, we got to start small. Once we are able to gather, I am open for starting somewhere, planting a seed. We must progress. We weren't given this opportunity for nothing. Nothing happens by default. I always say it always happens for a reason. So I think this is the starting point of something new. I do think that we all know our purpose. We just have to trust each other. As it was mentioned, we need to heal and start talking to each other again. Share our experiences, share our talents, and share our finances.
Yes.
Ashe.
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 Thank you, Sister Guy.
Questions? We're all good.
Thank you so much. We, as usual, aren't ready to let you go quite yet. We want to continue to thank our supporters, our sponsors, our presenters, and we have a word from the Black Impact Collaborative, a new PSA.
It's nearly impossible to find a good place to eat these days.
Yeah, especially because you refuse to wear a mask.
Don't start that again. COVID is not as bad as they're making it seem. It's here and the world is still moving without it. You need to stay off that website.
What website?
I don't know, the ECI or the BGB.
Oh, the BIC. It's the 411GR, and nothing is normal. COVID has changed the way that we live our daily lives and how we interact with each other.
Normal? Everything is normal. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and even the homeless has time to beg for a buck or two. Now tell me what that woman's sign says.
Take a look. It says, please wear a mask with exclamation marks.
What?
Message from the BIC. Visit us at bicgr.com.
And also, just as a reminder, tomorrow, pull it up here. Tomorrow we are going to be celebrating Principle 6. Yay, Kwamba. Creativity, and Sister Julian and the West Michigan Jewels of Africa will lead us in that Kwanzaa presentation. So we hope that you all will join us again and bring again a friend, a family member, spread the word. I hope you all are enjoying these evenings just as much as I am. Also, we will be reviewing, trying to get a grasp on how many children we have had participate this week, but talk to our friend over We Are Lit, and we're looking to actually get those out on Saturday, just trying to make sure we give ourselves enough time to audit our list and get them sent out. So I think I previously mentioned that these will be sent out Friday night, but we have the Karama feast afterwards. So it's going to be a little bit of a longer night. And just want to make sure that I give myself a realistic expectation of when we would deliver those e-gift cards for your children who are 16 living in the household. And those books will be able to be redeemed online or at the store. And I will tell you, it is worth visiting her bookshop in the African American Museum. It is beautiful when you walk in to see all of these cultural books and African American inspired written cultural books. So please go by, visit Mr. Bayard and his art gallery / museum. It's an archive museum as well. He has so many artifacts. I know that he doesn't have room to display everything, but he himself is just a walking archive for our city. And I saw the question about who are our city's historians, and I would undoubtedly peg Mr. Bayard as one of our historians. I don't know all of them, but he certainly has a collection of a lot of our city's history. So thank you again for joining us. And as always, we will leave the room open for continued dialogue about tonight's topic or any of the principles that we have already discussed. And we have enjoyed these conversations that have gone on sometimes for 20 minutes, an hour or longer. But they allow you to continue the dialogue, and we just appreciate the participation. So this will end our formal event. I'm going to